Hey everyone, I am Ronan, that's Wadsworth, that's Cole. Welcome to Now Z Here. I'm thinking a lot this week about a conversation I had with my dad some random day back when I was in middle or high school. It's one of those random conversations I remember us having in the car on the way to the grocery store. We have this thing about having important conversations in cars, but I remember talking about the concept of personal heroes. Personal heroes or role models, whatever you want to call it. And the fact that the ones that I counted as mine at the time, my personal heroes, none of them were real people, living or dead. They were all fictional. I can remember my dad saying something along the lines of, you know, I don't know if it's a good idea to just have fictional characters as your role models because they kind of set an unattainable standard. And I've been thinking about that a lot this week in light of all the things we are finding out, all the things that are coming to light about these people in positions of power, mainly men, mainly celebrities of some fashion, or at least well known within their area of work, and how it's becoming clear that it may be more difficult finding someone who doesn't have a whole bunch of skeletons in their closet than someone who does. Wadsworth will tell you skeletons don't like closets. Okay, they want to be let out. And on the off chance that someone who is revealed to have committed an objectionable act turns out to be someone that you have admired and looked up to, what are the implications of that? And what then do you do with that knowledge? Now, on the one hand, I think looking back on it now, there's an argument to be made against what my dad was saying. The idea that fictional heroes present an unattainable standard. Well, it may be true in some aspects, like I'm never going to be, say, as compassionate as the Doctor or as Cole from Dragon Age. It's an incredibly high standard, and they're not even human, so they're not even within human standards of that sort of thing. But the other bit about fictional characters is we can see their whole being. We can see their whole being, and we can see how their flaws inform them. Because they are flawed. A truly perfect person, even in fiction, is just going to be impossible and boring. And so fictional characters as heroes give us a sort of, shoot for the moon goal in terms of, our personal morals or however we want to be emulating them. They also allow us to see them as a complete person. If they are a well-crafted character, they will have tragic flaws and flaws that make them interesting and more relatable. And so I still think of fictional characters as great examples to use as, personal heroes, as long as you recognize that it's rarely a situation where you're going to be able to emulate them exactly. At the same time, I do feel that having people in your life, whether you know them directly or there's someone that you followed their work, having those kinds of heroes can also be very important if you can manage to find someone you look up to. But I think that we place an insane standard ourselves on the people that we want to see as role models. And this is where it veers way off from the inspiration for these thoughts, because I am in no possible way saying that, don't assault women is an unattainable standard. But the thought that generated from, all of this controversy and my thinking about it was essentially every human has fucked up at some time. And so I think it's maybe a good idea to choose as our personal role models, the ones who are up and walking around in real life, or who at one time were up and walking around in real life, the people who own their flaws and have acknowledged them, who have owned their struggle to be the best person they can be, and are in fact being the best person they can be, despite the fact that they are not perfect. You see a lot of that in when people talk about Carrie Fisher. I see a lot of that these days coming from Patton Oswalt. Those are just two off the top of my head that I've been paying attention to. So I think my dad was right in that unattainable standards are a bad idea if we ever expect them to actually be attained. And that's by us or by the people who we might admire. There's your babbles for this week. If you enjoyed this video, check out the links in the description below. You can buy me a coffee or sign up on Patreon. Also, please click that subscribe button if you haven't already. I'll see you next week. I hope everyone who is celebrating has a wonderful holiday. And if you're not celebrating, I hope it's a good Thursday. See you next time. Always be changing.